Question 4. Explain what is meant by the term mixed economy and what is alienation. According to Marx, what causes alienation? So a mixed economy is defined as an economy in which both the private sector and the state enterprises go hand in hand. From the ownership to the sharing of benefits, both support each other to boost the overall economy. A mixed economy is different from a socialist economy in which every business is owned by the government, so there's no space left for private players. On the other hand, in a capitalist economy, every business is owned by private individuals. Sometimes, because of situations of monopoly, there's a crisis in the market. Low-income groups suffer. So a perfect blend between these two types of economies, known as the mixed economy, is needed. Government intervenes when there is a monopoly by the private sector by providing subsidies, price support, etc. In practice, all economies are mixed economies. Some economies are much closer to socialism, maybe like Denmark. Some countries are much closer to capitalism. You can picture the United States, Canada. But to my knowledge, I don't think there's any truly socialist economy or truly capitalist economy, that being one in which every business is owned and operated by the government, and on the other end, one in which no business is owned and operated by the government. Also to add to that, so what is alienation? Theoretically, alienation is defined as isolation, the isolation of workers from their rights of ownership, the isolation of workers from their good working conditions, the isolation of workers from good health, the right to life, the right to freedom of speech, and the right to make decisions. Karl Marx's alienation is based on his analysis of alienated labor. Through the political economy, he sees the worker is degraded to the most wretched commodity, i.e. the misery of the workers increases with the power and size of their production. So according to him, the causes for the alienation are increase in goods production, devaluation of labor costs, fall in quality consumption of goods by laborers, the concept of unequal income, decrease in humanitarian behavior versus the rise in mechanisms, decrease in work satisfaction, or no work safety mechanisms such as state insurance, provider funds, etc. Truth be told, I don't know a thing about Karl Marx's theories on alienation. I'm sure there is a ton of reading as well as YouTube videos on it. So if it is something that interests you, I would encourage you to look into it a little bit further, but I don't really have anything else to add. I might just draw really quickly. Mixed economies are a spectrum. So on one end, we've got like socialism, everything government owned and operated. On the other, we've got like capitalism, where everything is privately owned and operated. And on the spectrum, we're going to have, like, I'd imagine the US is probably down here somewhere. You know, most developed nations are pretty capitalist. On the socialism, you know, we're probably going to have somewhere like, I believe Denmark is effectively socialist. China, etc. So what the gist of this is saying is that, like, all economies are mixed economies. but some will be closer to one end of the spectrum and others will be closer to the other end of the spectrum. Had that pop up, so I hope nothing is wrong with the stream. Keeps doing this with the recording, but it worked yesterday, so assume it's going to be fine. Question 5. Surrogate's utility from soda, S, and hot dogs, H. Her utility function is given by nothing from the looks of it. Sarah's income is $12, and the prices of sodas and hot dogs are $2 and $3 respectively. Into the following. A, calculate Sarah's marginal utility for soda and hot dogs respectively. B, write down Sarah's budget constraint equation. C, what is Sarah's utility maximizing bundle, sodas and hot dogs? Please answer and break it down step by step. My study guide and most likely on my test tomorrow. I truly have no clue how to solve this. I hope you sent in this question like earlier today. If not, I hope your test went well to whoever asked this. Unless the utility function is, oh, here we do have the utility function. So our utility function is going to equal S to the 1 over 2 soda, right, times H to 1 over 2, which is hot dogs, I think. It's going to be subject to some budget constraint. So we've got subject to denote that S dot T. 12 times 2 times the quantity of sodas plus 3 times the quantity of hot dogs. I haven't done a question like this in quite a while, so bear with me. I believe I've set everything up right here. So part A is going to be calculate Sarah's marginal utility for soda and hot dogs respectively. We're going to have to partially derive, if I remember correctly. Let's see if our Janine The Tutor has done it the same. Yes, they have. Okay. So to get the marginal utility, you're going to take you're going to partially derive the utility with respect to whatever it is you're trying to get the partial utility of. So in this case, the marginal utility of soda, go to MUS, is going to equal the derivative of utility with respect to soda. That little backwards D is the partial derivative. So we're going to get 1/2 S to the negative 1/2 times H to the 1/2. That's going to equal H to the 1/2 over 2S to the 1/2. Unless my math skills have left me, which they might have. 0.5 times H times. Okay, yeah, so that is equivalent to 1/2 H over S to the power of 1/2. Not sure which form is going to be most advantageous to write it in, but all of these are equivalent. So that is the marginal utility of soda. Now we get the marginal utility of a hot dog. That's going to be the partial derivative of utility with respect to H for a hot dog. That's going to be 1/2 s to the 1/2 h to the negative 1/2. And that's going to be 1/2 s over h to the 1/2. I skipped that intermediate form I wrote in the first one. It turns out it's relevant. I'll go back and write it in here just so this doesn't get confusing for anybody. So we've answered part A. We've calculated the marginal utility for both soda and hot dogs. So that's our marginal utility of soda. And this is our marginal utility of hot dogs. B, we need to write down our budget constraint equation. I mean, I've already done this. And yeah, so I already did this at the beginning here, so I'll do it again. Budget constraint, so she has an income of $12. And in situations like this, you assume she only consumes the 2 goods. So she has $12 to spend between sodas, which are, just to keep it consistent, I'll see how our junior tutor. So $2 to spend on sodas and $3 to spend on hot dogs. So that is our budget constraint. 12 equals 2s plus 3h, where s is the quantity of soda she buys, and h is the quantity of hot dogs she buys. Part C, what is Sarah's utility maximizing bundle of sodas and hot dogs? I think I typically use the Lagrangian method when I was doing questions like these, but I will follow through with the way our junior tutors does it. They should arrive at the same answer regardless. So they've got, and from my memory, this is correct, multiple or marginal utility soda over ds is going to be equal to the marginal utility of hot dogs over pH. So that's just this term, MUS, is going to be 1/2 brackets h over s to the 1/2 PS is 2/2 equal 1/2 s over h to the power of 1/2 over 3. Just going to shrink this. I'm actually going to get to give it a quick second to take a picture of the top if need be before it gets too much smaller. We can start canceling things out. Goes on both sides. We're going to get 3 h over s to the 1/2 equal to s over h to the 1/2, and that's going to equal, work out to 3h, it's going to equal 2s. if we now plug this back into our budget equation, we've got 12 is going to equal 2s plus 3h we know is equal to 2s, so 2s plus 2s. Twelve is then going to equal 4s. And S star, our optimum level of soda, is going to equal 12 over 4, which is 3. Knowing that, we go back to our budget equation, saying 12 is going to equal 2 times 3 plus 3h. H is then going to equal 6. And H star is going to equal 2. So our utility maximizing amount of soda is 3. Our utility maximizing amount of hot dogs is 2. Junior Tutor has the same answer. So way to do these questions, you're always going to want to write out your utility function. You're going to write out what it's subject to. You're going to take the marginal utility. So you are going to derive your original utility function, partially derive your original utility function with respect to each of the goods. I write down the budget constraint equation at the beginning, but you can write it down after if you want. Here you guys can look into the Lagrange multiplier method if that works easier for you. That's what I learned, and I believe it's the preferred way to go about this, but I might be horribly outdated, who knows. So from there, you would use the Lagrange multiplier, or in this case, you can say the marginal utility over the price of one is going to equal the marginal utility over the price of the other. And there you should be able to isolate for the optimal amount of the two goods. Let's hope I was here in time. All right, second last question here, I believe, maybe the last one.